Assalamualaikum everyone. I hope that you all are doing fine there. Right, so for today's lecture, we are going to proceed with the next chapter under Malaysian judicial system. Okay, these are the learning objectives for today. At the end of the lessons, you should be able to first to understand the hierarchy and court structure in Malaysia, and second, to get an overview of the compositions and jurisdiction of courts in Malaysia. Class, please bear in mind that in order for you to understand this topic, okay, you have to go through one by one of the hierarchy of the courts. You need to understand the composition of each court and the jurisdiction of courts in Malaysia. The most important thing to be highlighted here is the compositions and jurisdiction of courts in Malaysia. Alright class, there are basic terminologies that you need to know when we go through this topic. First is judiciary. Judiciary means a branch of government which is concerned with law and the legal system. Okay, as we notice that, okay, as you have learned before we reach to this topic, there are three branches of governments. We have executive, legislative, and judiciary. Okay, judiciary is the one where the judges sit in to interpret law, okay, focus to settle the dispute, okay, to provide sanctions, right? Okay, next we have court. Court is an institution that is established by the government to administer justice and that serve as a formal platform to settle disputes between individuals and state. Okay, so the purpose of court is to settle dispute. Okay, next term, jurisdiction, the right of courts to hear and decide certain cases. Right, this is important. Jurisdiction, the right of courts. Okay, so which court has right to hear this case? Okay, which court has right to hear this case? Okay, so we have many types of courts in Malaysia, and each court will have its own jurisdiction. Next, original jurisdiction. This is the right of courts to hear and decide a case for the first time. Take note the word first time. Okay. Appellate jurisdiction, the power of courts to consider a case after it has been decided by the lower court. Okay, what is lower court? Lower court derived from subordinate courts, okay, session courts and magistrate courts. So appellate jurisdiction here only possessed by the superior court. Supervisory jurisdiction is the power of High Court to control activities of subordinate courts or tribunals. High Court here not referring to the High Court itself, okay, but the superior courts. And then a civil case, a case between an individual or an entity, like company or firm, with another individual or entity. For example, a case of breach of contract between Salman and Munah. Okay, basically there is an agreement between Salman and Munah, and let's say one of the party here, Salman, breached the contract, so they need to bring their case to a civil court. Criminal case, a case that involves action that is considered as harmful to the society. For example, a murder, drug trafficking, robbery, any offences stated under penal code. Alright, next we move on to the classifications of courts in Malaysia. Okay, these are the hierarchy of courts in Malaysia. Okay, so we have superior courts, or also known as the higher courts, derived from federal court. This is the most supreme court in Malaysia, and then a court of appeal and high court. And then the second division of a court is subordinate courts or lowest court, derived from a session courts and magistrates court. Okay, apart from this, superior courts and subordinate courts, okay, obviously we have courts with special jurisdictions. Okay, so they have the separate jurisdictions, they have separate rights to hear the dispute. Okay, for example, first, the juvenile court, okay, previously known as children court, and then the special court for rulers, okay, court martial, Sharia court, and industrial court. Right. So there are many courts in Malaysia, okay, but they have their own jurisdictions, okay, right to hear the dispute. First, we start with the subordinate courts, or known as lower courts. Okay, before that, I would like to highlight to you that for the superior courts here, okay, superior courts, federal courts, and court of appeal here, they have their own appellates jurisdictions, okay. This is where, okay, they do not hear cases from the first time, okay. They don't have original jurisdictions because they just receive an appeal from the lower court, for example from high court, okay, or subordinate courts, okay. So just bear in mind that you cannot sue someone in a federal court or court of appeal, but you can make an appeal to these courts, court of appeal and federal court. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, the first type of subordinate courts in Malaysia known as magistrate courts. So magistrate courts are the lowest in the hierarchy of the courts, and they are more numerous than any other courts. They deal with minor civil cases and minor offences in everyday matters like offences relating to the use of motor vehicles, a breach of regulation, and small claims. Okay, and don't be surprised that we also have a small claims court in Malaysia. And the magistrate courts are established under Section 76 of the Subordinate Courts Act 1948, and they may be presided by first-class magistrate, a legally qualified person, or second-class magistrate, not legally qualified. They are civil servants and courts official. Okay, okay, if you have any friends, okay, graduated from law a degree, okay, finish the chamberlain, so they are qualified to be a first magistrate, kan selalu ada dengan magistrate semua tu kan, okay. So legally qualified person, okay, but for not legally qualified person, okay, they can join a second class magistrate. Okay, for the first class magistrate, okay, this is the thing that you need to know, the compositions and the jurisdictions. For compositions, one member per sitting, only one magistrate. Okay, original jurisdiction, to hear the case for the first time in civil matters, to hear a civil case when the amount of dispute does not exceed, okay, just bear in mind that you need to remember these words, does not exceed 100,000 ringgit, okay. And then for criminal matters, try to hear criminal offences of the following nature: offences punishable with fine, mostly traffic offences, or offences punishable with imprisonment not exceeding 10 years. For example, kidnapping, the maximum punishment is 7 years. Okay, so original jurisdiction normally divided into two, okay, civil and criminal matters. Okay, for second class magistrate, the composition is also similar with the first class, one member per sitting. Original jurisdiction, civil matters. Here a civil case when the amount of dispute does not exceed 10,000 ringgit. So how you may compare it with the first class magistrate? Okay, so first class magistrate is more. Yes, okay, the amount of dispute is more. Meaning that they can have more subject matter, okay, as compared to the second class magistrate. Okay, so in a second class magistrate, okay, there is a small claims, or sometimes we call it a small claims court. To hear cases with small claims does not exceed 5,000 ringgit. An applicant may file his action with the small claims a division of the magistrate courts, and he will have to conduct the case himself because legal presentation is not permitted. So you cannot bring a lawyer, okay, when you make a small claims in a second class magistrate. Okay, for example, let's say there is a breach of electronic transaction, okay, e-commerce transaction by the seller. For example, you order goods to Shopee, okay, but the seller deliver to you wrong goods, okay, and the goods the price of the goods must not exceed 5,000 ringgit. So if you like to bring the dispute, okay, you need to file a small claim, but you cannot appoint any lawyer. Okay. And then for criminal matters, to try criminal offences of the following nature: offences punishable with fine or imprisonment not exceeding 12 months only. Okay, for example, if there was an unlawful assembly, okay, the maximum period of punishment is 6 months. So if they want to give more than the prescribed power and punishment, the second class magistrate must postpone the case for trial by a first class magistrate. So if they want to give more than the prescribed power, so you akan appoint the first class magistrate. Okay. uh, okay, previously if you notice that we also have a penghulu court, okay, but nowadays I don't think there is still have a penghulu courts, okay, because back previously we have penghulu court, so first class magistrate also has an appellate jurisdiction, okay, which is to hear appeal from penghulu court, okay, and then the first class magistrate also may dismiss a criminal appeal if he considers there is no sufficient ground of for interference, okay, but only if we have the penghulu court. Okay, later we continue with session court.